She left one of the most watched off-road channels on YouTube, was given a brand new truck as a parting gift, and then went almost completely silent on social media. The woman in question is Lizzy Stout, better known to over 1.5 million subscribers as the welding, winching, rodeo belt buckle-wearing face of Matt's off-road recovery. And the question her fans have been asking for the better part of 3 years has never actually been answered out loud. By the time this video ends, you'll understand why her silence says everything that a statement never could. The comment sections don't lie. Go to any recent Matt's off-road recovery upload, any one from the past 2 years, and scroll down 30 seconds. You'll find the same question over and over from hundreds of different people who all reached the same point independently. Where is Lizzy? Is she coming back? That question didn't start in 2025. It started the moment Matt posted the send-off video in July 2023, the one titled, "I Never Expected This," and it has never stopped. Commentary channels have built entire videos around the speculation. Reddit threads on the MOR subreddit run for hundreds of replies. As recently as January and March 2026, multiple YouTube channels were still actively publishing content asking whether Lizzy was returning to the channel. The audience never moved on because the situation never felt finished. It felt like a pause, not an ending. And that feeling is exactly where the story gets complicated, because Lizzy herself has not posted any direct public response to the return speculation. Her Instagram account, @Lizzy25etter_, sits at around 24,000 followers. It exists, but meaningful activity has been scarce since her departure. No announcement, no statement, no video. The woman who once drove audience retention on one of YouTube's biggest blue-collar channels to 82%, a number that made Matt Wetzel famous at a content creation conference, has gone almost completely quiet, and that silence is not nothing. That silence is a position. Understanding why it means what it means requires going back much further than July 2023. It requires understanding where Lizzy came from, and why what she chose after the channel was never really a surprise to anyone who paid close enough attention. But here's the part that changes everything about what you just heard. Lizzy Stout did not fall into the off-road world by accident. She was built for it, or something adjacent to it, from the time she was old enough to sit in a saddle. She grew up in Hurricane, Utah. Same small town, same community, same red rock landscape that Matt Wetzel has called home his entire adult life. That is not a coincidence. It is the entire reason she ever ended up on the channel in the first place. Matt Wetzel and Lizzy's father, Stuart Stout, have been best friends since they attended the same school together as kids. The Stout family and the Wetzel family have known each other for multiple generations. When Lizzy grew up, Matt was not a famous YouTuber. He was just the guy her dad had always been friends with, the man who ran Winder Towing, drove a beat-up yellow Jeep Cherokee, and occasionally took vehicles off canyon walls for a living. Lizzy is one of 6 children, 2 sisters and 3 brothers, raised by Stuart and Heidi Stout. From her earliest years, her interest ran in a specific direction that had nothing to do with garage floors and impact wrenches. She competed in rodeos and won. The ornate belt buckle that regular viewers of the channel came to recognize, the one she wore while welding, while winching, while eating nachos at a gas station en route to a recovery job, that buckle was a rodeo prize. She was also into swing dancing and volleyball, and she loved horses with the kind of passion that is not a phase. Horses were a constant. The welding and the fabrication came later, and they came, specifically, from Matt. Lizzy has said that Matt taught her everything she knows about the mechanical side of the work. That education began not in front of a camera, but across a long-standing family friendship, in the same small desert town where both of their stories were rooted. She officially joined Winder Towing and Matt's off-road recovery as a crew member in 2020. That timing matters. The channel was already growing. Subscribers were already in the hundreds of thousands. Lizzy walked into a moving train and then proceeded to become one of the main reasons people kept watching. And if you think that was surprising, stay with me, because this next part is why the whole story matters. There is a specific moment in MOR's history that explains Lizzy's cultural footprint on the channel better than any highlight reel ever could. It is not a dramatic recovery. It is not a winch breaking under load or a truck sliding toward a canyon edge. It is nachos. Matt Wetzel talked about this publicly at Vid Summit, a conference for video creators, because what happened was so statistically bizarre that he had to explain it to an audience of professionals just to make them believe it. The setup was simple. The team was driving toward a recovery job near Vail, Utah, and stopped at a gas station. Lizzy got nachos. On camera, the moment lasted 7 to 12 seconds. Nothing more than a brief, unscripted exchange about gas station nachos. The retention data spiked. Not dropped, spiked. In a medium where audience retention almost always falls as a video runs longer, the engagement on that clip went up after the nacho segment. Days after the video published, retention was still sitting at 82%. To put that in perspective, most YouTube creators begin celebrating when they hit 46%. 82% is the kind of number that makes algorithm strategists question their assumptions. Matt's explanation for why it happened cuts to the heart of what Lizzy meant to the channel. The audience didn't connect with nachos, they connected with her buying nachos. They saw someone their own age, in a real job, doing an unremarkable thing that they all did themselves, stopping at a gas station for cheap food on the way to work. Lizzy made the channel relatable in a way that off-road recoveries, no matter how spectacular, never quite could. The drama of a stuck vehicle drew viewers in. Lizzy made them feel like they belonged there. She also brought a skill set that was entirely her own. She welded. She drove recovery vehicles. She operated winches and managed rigging. In a niche space dominated almost entirely by men, she did those things without comment, without performance, and without needing anyone to acknowledge that it was notable. That combination, competence without posturing, personality without effort, is almost impossible to manufacture. It's why her departure hit the audience the way it did. She never talked about this publicly, until now. The timeline of how Lizzy left the channel is more layered than most of the commentary around it acknowledges. It was not a single decision made in a single moment in 2023. It was a series of life changes that had been building for at least 2 years before her farewell video ever published. The first major shift came in 2022. Around the same time Matt's eldest son Rudy was departing the channel to pursue his own fabrication project. News emerged that Lizzy had gotten engaged. She married Clancy Ballard on September 30, 2022, at the Cedar City, Utah Temple, an LDS ceremony. Clancy is a horse rider and an outdoorsman who, like Lizzy, is rooted in the rural Utah world she has always called home. What most viewers didn't realize at the time was what came immediately after the wedding. Clancy was away for an extended period in Dixon, Tennessee, connected to an LDS mission. That meant Lizzy was physically separated from her new husband for months, during late 2022 and into early 2023. Even while she was still showing up at the MOR shop and appearing in videos, she was, in a real sense, running 2 lives in parallel, working full-time for Matt in Hurricane, while her husband was across the country, while her own plans and her own future were pointing somewhere completely different. By early 2023, she announced she would be going part-time. The shift toward Kane County, where the Ballard family runs a cattle operation, had already begun before the farewell video even started filming. She was not walking away impulsively. She was finishing what she had already started building. When July arrived and Matt posted the send-off, Lizzy already knew where she was going. She told viewers directly she wanted to ride horses and take care of her husband's family's cattle. She mentioned the possibility of eventually buying a portion of the land themselves, of building something of their own. Matt gave her a black Ford F-150 FX4 as a parting gift. The crew said goodbye. The door, Lizzy said herself, was not locked behind her. If the situation ever called for an appearance, she would consider it. What happened next is the reason this story spread across the internet. From the moment that farewell video published, the MOR community has been waiting. They waited in 2023. They waited through 2024. And they are still waiting now, in 2026, while commentary channels upload entire video essays on the subject and comment sections fill with the same handful of questions cycling on repeat. Has Lizzy appeared on MOR since July 2023? No. She has not reappeared in any MOR content in the years since her departure. Her Instagram, @Lizzy250_, has remained largely quiet, around 24,000 followers. A bio that says, "Be the reason someone smiles today." Not a platform being actively used to build an audience or cultivate a return. Not a creator who is warming up a fan base for a comeback. What it looks like, in function and in frequency, is the social media of someone who is genuinely doing something else. And this is the part that the return speculation tends to miss. The fans who want Lizzy back are operating from one framework, the framework of someone who stepped away from a platform and might return to it. But Lizzy's own framing, stated clearly in her farewell, was different. She did not say she was taking a break from content. She said she was moving to a ranch to work cattle and ride horses. Those are not things people do while keeping one eye on their subscriber count. Those are things people do when the life they actually want is not the life that exists in a camera lens. The silence is not mysterious. It is consistent. Every piece of confirmed public information about Lizzy Stout Ballard, from her rodeo belt buckle to her stated reasons for leaving to the inactivity of her social accounts, points in the same direction. She said what she meant, and she did what she said. At this point in the story, most people walked away. What she did instead is the part nobody talks about. The return debate often treats Lizzy's departure as a loss, as something that happened to the channel and by extension to the audience. That framing is understandable, but it overlooks something that makes her story genuinely different from the standard creator departure narrative. Lizzy Stout was never trying to be famous. That is not a cliché. It is a structural fact about how she ended up on the channel. She did not build a following and then leverage it for a show. She was the daughter of her dad's best friend, in the same small town, who had the mechanical skills and the personality that translated on camera. And Matt recognized both. She did not pursue the audience. The audience found her. That matters because it explains the silence after the departure. When someone builds a career on public attention, stepping away creates a genuine vacuum, because public attention was the goal. When someone ends up in front of a camera because of who they already were, stepping away from the camera doesn't create a vacuum. It just restores the original state of things. Lizzy Stout before YouTube was a rodeo competitor who could weld and loved horses and grew up in Hurricane, Utah. Lizzy Stout Ballard after YouTube is a rancher who can weld and loves horses and lives in Kane County, Utah. There is also a detail that rarely comes up in the commentary. She did not leave angry. The farewell was warm. She left with a new truck and a standing invitation to return. Matt and Lizzy's relationship exists in the context of a multi-generational family friendship. Their fathers grew up together. That is not a professional working relationship that frays after a departure. It is a family bond that exists entirely outside of camera schedules and upload deadlines. The most important thing Lizzy Stout ever did on Matt's off-road recovery was not fix a winch or run a recovery line. It was be exactly who she already was, on camera, for 3 years. And the most important thing she has done since leaving is remain exactly who she is, off camera, without needing an audience to see it. Here's what the comments kept asking, and here's the answer they never got, until now. So is Lizzy coming back? That is the question. And the honest answer, based on every confirmed piece of available information, is that she already answered it. Not with a statement, but with the choices she has made every single day since July 2023. She moved to Kane County. She is working a cattle operation alongside her husband's family. She said in her farewell that she hoped to eventually buy a portion of that land and build something of their own. She gave every indication that the ranch was not a temporary stop, but a destination she had been working toward for years. Through the engagement, through the wedding, through the months her husband was away, through the part-time transition in early 2023. The return speculation exists because her door was left open, because she said she would consider appearing in the future if the situation called for it. And that statement is true. She said it and there is no reason to doubt it. But an open door is not a return timeline, and a return visit is not the same thing as coming back. The audience wants the latter. What Lizzy offered was the former. The commentary channels, still speculating in early 2026, are not wrong to note that the situation has never been formally closed. It hasn't. Lizzy did not make a dramatic announcement severing ties. But the ongoing silence, measured now in years, not months, tells its own story. A woman who missed the channel, or missed the audience, or missed the work, would be on Instagram posting throwbacks by now. She is not. The MOR community gave her something real, a platform, a following, a community that genuinely cared about who she was. What she gave back was equally real. 3 years of showing up exactly as herself, making a channel better by making it more human, and then leaving for the same reason she showed up, because it was what the actual shape of her life called for. One phone call, one conversation. That's all it took to change the direction of everything. The MOR channel itself has continued to grow. Matt's Off-Road Games, the annual event held at Sand Hollow State Park in Hurricane, Utah, is expanding in 2026. The 2026 event spans a full 3-day format, with new lineup elements, and the channel's wider community of fans and creators continues to orbit it. The show did not stop when Lizzy left. It kept moving, the way the channel always has, by adding new faces, new personalities, new dynamics that give the audience fresh reasons to stay. But Lizzy's absence leaves a specific kind of gap that has proven difficult to replicate. The nacho moment did not work because of nachos. It worked because of her, because of the specific combination of genuine skill, unpretentious personality, and deep community roots that made her feel like someone who actually belonged in the story, rather than someone cast into it. You cannot replace that with another hire. You either have it or you don't. What she is building in Kane County will likely never have a camera pointed at it. The cattle operations of rural southern Utah are not YouTube content, they are work. Long days, early mornings, the kind of physical reality that the MOR audience actually respects, even if they can't see it happening. In a strange way, Lizzy going to the ranch is the most on-brand thing she could have done. The whole reason people loved her on a channel about blue-collar work in the desert was that she was genuinely blue-collar. The ranch is just the next version of that. As for a formal return, a full-time comeback, a rejoining of the team, nothing in the available record supports it happening, and nothing in Lizzy's choices since July 2023 suggests it is where her life is pointed. The answer to the return question is not a statement. It is a ranch in Kane County, a cattle herd, a husband who has been there since before the channel ever entered the picture, and nearly 3 years of consistent, deliberate quiet. She chose the life, not the platform. And for someone who never came looking for the platform in the first place, that choice makes perfect sense. The real story of Lizzy Stout Ballard is not about a departure. It is about someone who always knew what she wanted, showed up for 3 years because it fit, and left the moment something more important was ready for her. The channel she left behind is still running. The community that formed around her is still asking questions, and the woman at the center of all of it is, by every available indication, exactly where she planned to be. The ranch isn't the consolation prize. It was the goal the whole time. Whether the MOR community ever gets a formal answer to the return question depends on Lizzy, and based on her track record, she will answer it the same way she has answered everything else. Not with a video, but with what she actually does. Watch her Instagram over the coming months. Not for a comeback announcement, but for the small signals of a life being built. The kind that exists entirely off the camera she never needed in the first place. Do you think Lizzy made the right call leaving Matt's off-road recovery for ranch life? Or is there a version of this story where she could have had both? Drop your answer below.